driving value to the NFT marketplaces through curation, archiving, and artist support. Maria Fernandez, advisor at Golem Network, founder of ETH Berlin.
Great. All right, so my name is Maria Paula Fernandez. I work at Golem Factory GmbH and serve as the managing director at the Department of Decentralization, which has a very strong art and blockchain arm. And as well, I am the founder of JPEG protocol, which is a permissionless curation protocol. So today I'm gonna try to sort of talk about how I got into NFTs, what I have seen in the space, and what I'm doing so far in order to contribute and to create a more healthy experience for everyone, including artists and of course collectors, other roles around. So I'm just going to tell you about that too. So who am I? I'm working in blockchain since 2007. Golem, which I joined at the end of 2018, is 17. Sorry, is one of the very first projects in Ethereum. We actually were born at the same time, approximately as Ethereum, and then presented at DevCon 0. And that is actually how Golem is a P2P marketplace for computing power, which you might think has nothing to do with NFTs, but actually we do have some stuff to do with NFTs, especially when it comes to rendering, because everything takes heavy computation. But most importantly, Golem is an ecosystem player within Ethereum. So from the very beginning of Ethereum, we have been supporting the ecosystem. And that is how I actually discovered NFTs. I was helping Golem with the grants program. And one of the very first grants that we gave in that grants program was actually to an NFT project called Excellent. And that's how that piqued my interest. From there, I started the very first conference on NFTs, the NFT Summit in San Francisco, back in the days where conferences were live and you actually had to wear pants to them. And I've never stopped researching. So also in 2018, I founded the Department of Decentralization in Berlin that, as I mentioned, has a very strong art arm, which is led by one of my collaborators, Tina, and I am the person that's supporting it. We curate exhibitions, we assemble cultural activities from big in-person festivals, so small sort of happenings in conferences and discussions as well. And one of the things that we have been doing with Tina, because she's a curator and I have a very big interest in art and I have studied about art a lot, is that we actually are reporting on the intersection of blockchain and art. We published 2 papers so far. One went out early 2019, and we reported on the many dynamics within blockchain and art, what was happening back then, very early in the marketplaces. And right now we published the second one, a follow-up with a status report on how the whole thing has evolved and the overlap of the cultural workforce with the cypherpunks. So I'm just going to share the link later. And if you like reading, then I'm going to give you a lot of reading material. So this year, as I mentioned before, the NFT boom, we were already working on the second report. And it took us a year to write it because of the whole boom was actually starting, and it was really hard to archive everything and to make the report timeless. So finally, we got to publish it just at the very start of sort of the Cambrian explosion of NFT and social tokens and so on in February. Then we launched an NFT residency program with Rarible, the platform. And I started my own project as well with 2 collaborators, Trent and Sam, which is JPEG, the first curation protocol. So yeah, I just love art and technology. So I'm going to tell you. So these are the names of the two reports that I did. One is There's No Such Thing as Blockchain Art. It's an ironic title before you ask. And then the second one is Wanderer, about Above a Sea of FUD. Then Manifold is a residency, which I'm going to talk about later, and JPEG is my project. And 2022 is the time for us to reflect after the boom and think, how do we go from here? Which tools do we need to improve? And, what conclusions can we take after, a 2021 that's absolutely crazy in the NFT realm? So, as you may know, of course, 2020 and 2022 were sort of the tokenized renaissance, where we saw a lot of social tokens, we saw a lot of personal tokens as well, and we saw the creator economy, the third wave of the creator economy, being born. So basically, this is the time that the blockchain community met the art world and all of these thousands of creators that are coming into NFTs. And our technologies were known by the community and the art world, and we came up with a solution to the problem of the culture crisis that was brought in by, of course, circumstances of COVID. But also in 2020, 2021, what happened? It's a lot. So there's a crisis in the outside world. There is a lot of, new minting, a lot of promises, a great, bright future ahead with NFTs. But it's also very hard to sell sometimes. So what happens? The creatives are still under a lot of pressure, and our part as technologists is actually to help them. So I gather some conclusions from the art world that we could take into the NFT space to make it more sustainable and to make sure that this trend is not a trend, but a movement that's able to spread through the years. So the first one is that archiving is necessary. We need to expand beyond what's Clubhouse discussions, what is Twitter threads. We need to write reports. We need to be able to, store all this valuable information and insights and learnings and documentation that are coming from all of these overflow of construction and creation that is, the current NFT boom. The second one is to think. So the art world does this really well. Archives are really well known. Museums, I don't even have to tell you. So, we should strive for the same kind of, model. The same goes for thinking about longevity and sustainability, and especially when it comes to your practice. I know that some styles right now sell better than others, but if you are making an NFT, and by making that NFT, you're completely changing your practice and your personal style, then probably that's not sustainable. And you should really think, is it worth selling a render that looks like Beeple's, or is it better to preserve your authenticity? The third lesson here is that this is a free market by all means. It's about supply and demand, and there's a lot of people with a lot of capital, but people do need a lot of hand-holding and support. So help others set up wallets. If you don't know how to set up a wallet, by all means, join Discord where they can help you. Check that there are plenty of support networks, programs, and other structures designed to be able to help all of the creatives get into the space and stay here. And finally, that curation and discovery are necessary, because the same in the art world, a lot of people are artists, and a lot of people, and art can be many things. So there are some in the art world as well. There are tastemakers. In the NFT world, they're generally the collectors. And what they do is that they do a really hard work of finding out what is, meaningful, what is good, what is promising, and, curate it for you. Oh, this is not okay. Yeah, I already talked about archiving, but let's dive a little bit deeper. So I have seen a lot of personal collection interfaces and gallery interfaces. The problem is that we all need to make sure that their infrastructure is equally decentralized and censorship resistant as the NFT, which is actually a smart contract. So you always have to make sure that storage is on, it's immutable. You always need to make sure that their front end is not gonna, get Cloudflared or crash at any given time. And because I think that storage is really important here. So that means where your NFT, like the visual part of your NFT lives, because you never know what's going to happen with that. Then another thing about archiving is writing and publishing. So yeah, I don't have to explain it again. It's really important to keep track and to build some sort of like legacy. And for this, we need to write things for posterity to know what we have been doing in this sort of NFT hype. And finally, as well, I wanted to bring up that you should check the platforms as well where you're publishing or discussing meaningful things. Twitter and Clubhouse are very nice. Clubhouse is a thing of the moment. It's extremely ephemeral. Some of the conversations are not recorded. It's very like you drop in, you eavesdrop, and then you leave, and maybe the next day there's something else. And Twitter lasts, maybe a day if you're happy with, if you're lucky with a viral tweet. So make sure you also practice the art of long form. I suggest the Mirror platform, which is fantastic. And if you want to see some examples of everything that I'm telling you here, you can just head to those two websites. Those are part of my art practice, and I hope those are helpful as well. So the second point is curation. A lot of people talk about curation. Sometimes they talk about curation in the context of, like starting a Twitter thread, or selecting a few pieces inside of a marketplace. And I personally believe, and my team believes, that curations should be permissionless, open, cross-platform. So it's not enough to be able to curate on one NFT marketplace. You should be able to choose from all of the marketplaces and make your sort of like exhibition yourself. Incentivized, because curation is a job and it's very important. You are the tastemakers of the world, so you should be incentivized accordingly. And of course, if it can be on-chain and live forever, even if it's by means of a simple transaction history in a smart contract from an NFT, matters a lot. To this end, I am building with two of my colleagues the JPEG protocol that has all these characteristics. So yeah, I'm not going to stay here very long because I have a couple of minutes. So just check out that URL there. And finally, artist support. So with artist support, I'm talking about gas subsidies, how to build their community. It's very hard to sell your artwork, to fund creatives, to commission art pieces, and to advise them on, which are the best ways to preserve their practice authentic and sustainable. We just started a residency program that's called Manifold. The URL is there. Mint Fund also supports creative, and also check out Mirror because it allows you to crowdfund. So finally, some really cool NFT artists that my residency program is supporting. One is Mikey Woodbridge. We're gonna do a drop with him very, very soon. And the other one is Rhiannon Adam, who already has works in Foundation. So there's the links. Closing remarks, consider these rules revolutionaries. I'm gonna post the presentation on offline because I don't have much time now. There are always winners or losers in a revolution. Do not compare early results with the long-term outcome. Successful insurgents tend to become overpowerful incumbents, and technologies of freedom can inevitably become technologies of control. So stay vigilant. Finally, those are my social links. Make sure to reach out, ask questions if you want. And yeah, thank you so much.